Hello everybody, I'm Serto and welcome back to Eden Crafters. It's a big one folks, I think this is going to be the last episode in the series, and I had an issue or two, so the city is already built, but I will show you everything. But first I just want to go through a couple of little tips and explanations if I may, and then we'll go over to the city. So, lots to do, let's get stuck in. Alright, I'm first going to head over to our gold and osmium area, and I'm just going to put down, oh hello, there's a tree in my way now. Alright, put down over here. In terms of balancing a factory, in this playthrough, I've been kind of messing around a little bit, trying to get through things quickly so that I can show you everything that's going on, but didn't really give a good explanation of how a proper factory should be put together in this game. And I'm not really stressed because it is early access, and I'll be a little bit more efficient in the future. But, for example, this advanced miner, this produces a 240 per minute. So I suppose this is a good example. At the moment, I've put 5 forges in. Now this is a combination of a splitting system and a manifold system. So basically it's going in here and it's being split out in both directions and then split again. So not brilliantly efficient, but now the forges, they operate at 30 per minute, but they need 2 gold ore in order to do that. So in other words, each of these needs 60. So right now, these 5 are needing 300 gold. This is actually only producing 240. So I have 1 too many. It's not a stress because it is backed up a bit, but I could get away with 4 and I could make this system efficient with a Mark III miner. Now, the Mark II miner will be less, maybe 120 per minute, the Mark I 60 per minute, and so on. So you can build and then expand as long as you leave space. Probably the most important thing that I've found is these nodes actually adjust in height depending on the level of the ground. So if you bring in a steamroller and you flatten an area, you can make a really neat factory because the nodes will adjust to your ground level. So you can make a big flat area. Well, now I've been respecting the topology a little bit, but you know, you could flatten out very large areas and make big factories. Another thing that I've learned is try not to share things too much. Now, in my case, specifically on this build, I was only using 1 alloy forge, producing 60 per minute, and I was sharing those between 3 items. This item, the composite beam, is something that I needed a lot of, and that suffered. But then you also need it for the cutting blades, I think it is, the circular saw blades, and you also need to have a storage of the osmium alloy in your warehouse. So I was putting too much strain on the system to be able to effectively get the composite beams built and stored, and they were just building up really slowly. Now I've balanced that out, but the problem I think over here, let's just hop into my drone, yeah, I didn't upgrade the iron system because we need iron beams for this process, and they were backed up at one stage, but that's because this side wasn't efficient and it was just it was a bad setup. Also, all your gold items, you want to separate those out. Things that need gold ingots, you don't want to be splitting them in too many directions either if you're doing this kind of setup, because the alloy forge uses a lot. Where the alloy forge produces 160 per minute, it actually needs 120 osmium ingot and 120 gold ingots per minute. So you need to bear that in mind. If you have extras, then by all means draw it off. But yeah, my advice would be to keep your factory operations separated and keep your items on separate production lines. Don't use the same node. Yeah, the one thing that I didn't check out was, can you put in more than 1 miner on a node? And my thought would have been no. I suppose that one might be badly set up, but if I put one over there, can I put one? All deposits is already being mined, so you can only put 1 miner on 1 deposit. So there's something that you need to bear in mind. I think someone in the comments said that you may be able to put 2 on, but yeah, that's not the case. But yes, with everything that I know now, I could probably make this setup a lot better and find other places where I can get osmium and gold in the same area to make the other items, so I don't have to stress too much about the rate at which the composite beams build up. Anyway, that's that. So let's hit the road. This episode is all about the city build, and it was supposed to be a detailed explanation, but it doesn't, honestly doesn't really need a massive explanation. What I am going to do, I cut it off here, and I'm going to go to the time lapse while I'm flying over to the city area. It's a full time lapse of the city build, and once it's over, then I will walk you through it. So enjoy. And that is the city build. So let me walk you through it a little bit. We needed 5 of the T1 habitats. I did build them, and I might have built an extra one. We also needed 2 of the tier 2 habitats. I have those. I put the Earthlink communication building right as a centerpiece in the village. And over on this side, I put a climate regulator in. Now, obviously that uses power, but the Earthlink building needs a lot of power. So, where did I park my car? Can't remember. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so that Earthlink tower needs 3,000 megawatts. So what I decided to do was put some power on the island, but I thought I'd hide it away a little bit. So I made a tunnel through the mountain to the other side, and I built a whole lot of geothermal power plants. And I think I ended up with 7 or 8 of them, just to keep everything running. It produces 650 in this area, so they don't produce massively, but we also don't have access to any uranium on this island. So I was kind of stuck with those. Built a garage for the construction and maintenance vehicles. So kept that out of the main city. And I put together a little base. There is a bit of an issue. If you put this down like this and you try and walk straight into it, you get blocked. So you kind of have to come at it from the side. Now I wasn't going to establish a permanent base here, but I figure, well, you know, why not? So I will put other stuff, or I would. Not going to bother now because I have a base on the other side with all the sleeping compartments and everything that I need over there. Maybe I can reserve the upstairs area specifically for sleeping quarters and rest and relaxation. So I could come in here and say, all right, well, we'll have the kitchen down on this end. That end will be crafting. We'll have the sciencey stuff somewhere else. So yeah, so there's a kitchen. I didn't put any windows upstairs and none on this area. So I could put in some of those. Maybe have a single window over here. So yeah, there's a fair bit that you can do with it. Come up here and I can actually probably make separate rooms. So to give it a bit of a profile on the outside, if we put a sleeping unit in there and get an internal wall and we put it over there, internal door, and we pop it in like that. Yeah, that looks pretty neat. There we have our little sleeping quarters. And then we can do other stuff over here. We can put a table down, play board games, stuff like that. The bedroom would probably need windows. Use some windows over here as well. Put them in places where they'll actually give a view. And then that also makes it pretty nice looking from the outside. There you go. Bit more detail to this building now. And I figured I'd get a landing pad over on this side. Just because I might need to fly over here from time to time. Oh, and in the main city, I can pop back there again. I built an airport because, you know, people might want to do some island hopping and go and maybe gather some resources or just have a bit of a holiday. So if I hop out here, I've built the other spaceship, the cargo spaceship, which is, it's slower than the main spaceship and it doesn't have as much storage as far as I can tell, but it is a very pretty ship. I mean, I could handle this. I did put it in a bit of a dodgy spot because there's so many high things around it. Yeah, and we can just park it and we've got... Oh, tight parking, sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, that is that. And the skyline of the city looks pretty nice. I could put more buildings in. I could maybe even put some buildings up on the ridge, give it more depth. But I think this looks pretty great, and when people arrive, they will not be too unhappy. So if you like this video, give us a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. I will probably be doing another playthrough of this game in January because the dev has said that there will be a big update, and that will include trains and other automations. So that might even change how I'm thinking of how I do the game in the future. And my next playthrough, well, if it's a big enough update, then I will play through on Ocean World because I actually haven't done that in early access. I did that in the prologue, so I may just do that. And as you can see, there's a strange pile of rock that appears when you put down the recall station on the corner, and you can get rid of it. There you go. So thanks everybody for all the comments, for all the useful tips. It's been a fun series. I do enjoy this game a lot, and it has a good future. But as the sun rises, exactly as I wanted it to, down the end of the street, I thank you very much for joining me, and until next time, cheers!